Sounds so hash.
Unmuted.
Ready? Let's go ahead and call this meeting to order. We'll start with the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. I salute the flag of the state of New Mexico and the Zia symbol of perfect friendship among united cultures. Good evening, everybody, and welcome to the regular council meeting for July 22nd, 2020. Following the Pledge of Allegiance, the first item is approval of the agenda.
Roll call, right?
Or roll call, that's correct. Gotta remember this. Do a roll call vote. Councilor Jaramillo?
I'm here.
Councilor Holly?
Here.
Councilor Abraham?
Here.
And we have for staff members Juan Torres, Carla Salazar, and Tanya Mortensen. I believe
Councilor Abrams might be on the phone. See,
Councilor Abrams, are you on the phone?
okay, so he's not in yet.
He's not in yet. He called in, though he may be in later. Okay, following the roll call, then we have approval of the agenda. I'll entertain a motion.
Mr. Mayor. Go ahead. Mr. Mayor, I make a motion to approve the agenda.
We got a second?
Second.
Motion's been made and seconded to approve tonight's agenda. Roll call vote. Councilor Abraham?
Aye.
Councilor Holly?
Aye.
And Councilor Jaramillo?
Aye.
Okay, the first item then is the consent agenda. We've got some planning and zoning meeting minutes, the department report from P&Z, code enforcement report, police department report, animal control, and municipal court. I will entertain a motion on this.
Mr. Mayor, I make a motion we approve the consent agenda. Mayor, I will second that, but I do have a question. Where is our wastewater report?
I don't know.
Maybe
These are the
the
reports
clerk
that
could
brought
answer.
in.
Maybe the clerk could answer where our wastewater report is at.
Mayor, Council, I don't have a wastewater report because one wasn't submitted in time for the packet.
Are we having trouble getting our contractor to perform?
No, Councilor, I'm not sure. Carla, can you weigh in real quick?
I have to unmute. I can do I can have a wastewater report for the next meeting. I haven't asked him to do one. I didn't come in and did his introductory meeting, but I will ask him to do a monthly report. I hope everybody heard that.
There's an intro, I don't know if it's...
I will ask him to do, yeah, I'm sorry, I didn't ask him to do a monthly report in his introductory meeting, but I will ask him to do a monthly report from this point forward.
Thank you. One other comment, Mayor, I did notice that the chair of P&Z had said that he wanted to get input from council before moving forward with any changes to the sign ordinance. And so I just wanted to check on that at some point to see if that's something, well, it probably is something we need to add to a future agenda.
And say that again, you kind of broke up in
Mayor,
here.
I'm gonna mute and then just unmute the counselor.
Okay.
Hang on.
Okay, I think all the
Okay.
counselors are there. I just muted the public phone so we wouldn't get the feedback, so I apologize for that.
Could you say that again, Counselor Jaramillo?
Mayor,
Unmuted.
can you guys hear me? Yes. Mayor, I just wanted to clarify, do you want that as a workshop, Councilor Jaramillo, or do you just want P&Z to start making changes to submit?
I was reading his comment that he wanted feedback from council before it gets tackled. I saw that in the minutes. And so I was asking the mayor if we could put it on a future agenda, or we probably need to put it on a future agenda so that the governing body can discuss it. But if, you know, you guys have done that in the past, the workshop or whatever you think is best, I'm open for that. As long as, you know, we can brainstorm and give each other feedback and listen to what the public wants, et cetera.
Sure, we have a pretty decent draft already ready to go. If you guys want us to submit that, it's really rough, but we can submit that. You can take a look at it. We can start there, or you can have it as a discussion first. Whichever.
Okay, so for that, mayor probably just needs feedback from council on which direction to go.
I would prefer you send us the copy and we make notes on it and send them back to you maybe. With all the special meetings and all that kind of stuff, it's really hard for me to schedule more meetings than we're already doing right now. So if you could provide the rough draft and maybe we can make comments and submit them to you.
Okay.
What do you think, Councilor Holly? Sorry, I was supposed to go through the mayor.
Yeah, and I'd sort of like to get back to, we've got a motion and a second, but in regard to this ordinance, I would like to see the draft. I think I'd like to see what has already been drafted, and we can use that as a starting point.
And for the record, that's the sign ordinance? Yeah, okay, because it was breaking up in here when I'm listening to it. So we got a motion and a second. Let's do a roll call vote. Start here, Counselor Abraham.
Aye.
Counselor Jaramillo
Aye.
and Counselor Holly.
Aye.
Thank you, Counsel. Next item is a presentation. It's a handout of an election timeline as it regards the special election on August 24th regarding a vote to switch the form of government under which Edgewood will operate to continue under its current form of government. Mr. Torres, you've got this.
So Mayor Council, so what Carla and I have kind of put together, and we'll see if you got this in your handout. There's the camera. So it's just more kind of a vote campaign. It's got the deadlines. So the last day to register to vote is July 27th. Santa Fe County Clerk said that they'll be open until 5, accepting them. Of course, you can go on the Secretary of State. The clerk's office, or through AES, the vendor, is going to be sending out the ballots July 28th through the 30th. So just make sure everyone's aware the ballots are coming out. Don't mistake it for junk and toss it out. If you haven't received a ballot by August 10th, please call the Santa Fe Clerk's office, the County Clerk's office at 505-896-6280. There's also just a picture from the sample ballot on there. I don't know if you can get my camera. So it's just as, simple, for or against. It's just a question that's going to be on there. So on the election day itself, on the 24th, the ballots will start to be tallied after 7 p.m. If you miss turning it in, like in the mail or something, and want to make sure your vote's counted, you can get it in the mail, or you can drive it up to the county clerk up to 7 p.m. on that day. They will be open, and they'll be open also just throughout the week, accepting it in a, they'll have a drop box, or they'll have something inside for you to put the ballots in if you can't mail it. And we're also going to be, we've got it on our website. We have it on the electronic sign. We're going to put some ads in the Independent as well, just trying to raise awareness and get people to vote, just like with every election. So,
Mr. Torres, I have a question. I had a citizen call me and say they saw a big yellow "Vote Here" sign on the fence. I know we're not voting there. Can we make sure any signs like that are removed so people don't get confused and think they can come into town hall and vote?
yeah, I think I know what you're talking about.
Dinkle, as you come in off of Dinkle, there's a big yellow "Vote Here" sign.
Santa Fe County, when they had their primaries, they did not pull that sign down. We can pull it down and we'll send it off to the county, give it back to them.
Okay, and if there are any others, I just had a citizen call and ask about that.
Okay.
Thank you.
Okay, the next item was discussion items.
So,
And
hang on, let me unmute it, or let me unmute everyone really quick.
Have a bottle of water.
Okay.
Okay, the next item is public comment. Please give me your names so I can write it down here on the sign-in sheet.
This is Tom McGill.
Linda Burke? This is Martha.
Who is next?
Martha Eden. I want to give my 2 minutes to Judge Howard. Karen Kaiser.
This is Jerry Powers. This is Ray Siggers. Hello?
I got you.
Did you get Tom McGill?
Yes, I did. Anybody else?
Yeah, did you hear me, Ray?
Say that again?
Did you
Oh,
get
this is Ray
Linda?
Siggers.
I got Ray Seegers.
Okay, and I need to give my time to Jerry Powers, because I'm losing my voice. Sorry about that.
Mayor, did you get Linda Burke? Mayor?
Yep, I got it.
I'm sorry, did you get Tom McGill?
Yes, I got Tom McGill. Is there anybody else who wishes to speak? Okay. So first up is Tom McGill. Go ahead, Mr.
Mayor,
McGill.
Tom McGill, 12 Buck Road. I also noticed that the wastewater data was not in the packet to report to the council like the other departments. And also, the second quarter of 2020 has not been posted in a timely manner on the town site.
What's that?
You want me to repeat that?
No, hang on. Juan was
Okay.
fiddling with something here.
No, I was getting some feedback. I'm sorry. What?
Go ahead, Mr. McGill.
Okay, the second quarter data was not, 2020 has not been posted in a timely manner on the town site. The last thing that the governing body heard publicly was that the fecal coliforms were so far out of discharge limit that they literally stopped counting. I know what the correct values are, but you don't. The last timely report the governing body received was back in November of 2019, and it was untrue data. And yet, they are not demanding, at least until tonight, fresh report. You were spreading 2.5 million gallons of contaminated water on the ground, and yet I don't hear any questions about that. I know that your deputy clerk is fighting posting this data. She says that it just causes confusion to the council members, and she doesn't want to do anything but quarterly reports, and then apparently not on time. She's also playing games with my HIPAA reports when I try to find out this data. I think that playing games with MNED and with HIPAA is a dangerous way to go, although I'm very excited to see what's going to happen. Thank you very much for the time.
Mr. Mayor, the sound quality on my side is very poor.
Poor here too. It's
I'm getting an echo. I don't know if somebody has their Facebook on at the same time, but there's a terrible echo.
Yeah.
I can't find the person on here to mute. So if someone is streaming on Facebook and
It's showing we have
So
20
if anybody's streaming on Facebook, you need to mute
Is
that.
that right?
That take care of it?
I guess what I can do is, let's get, who you got next?
Next would be Jerry Powers.
All right, have Jerry say something so I can
Is that
identify him.
correct?
Mr. Powers, go ahead and say something. Mr. Powers, go ahead and say something.
Hello?
Go ahead. Yeah,
I'm calling for Jerry Powers.
yeah, that's him speaking.
Okay. Hang on.
Unmuted.
Okay, go ahead.
Okay, I think, Mr. Powers, that's you? Nope, got the wrong one.
Can you hear me?
Yeah, we can hear you.
Okay.
Go ahead. Go ahead and speak. Mr. Powers, go ahead and speak.
I think that they muted everyone except for you, Mr. Powers. Go ahead.
Okay,
Unmuted.
Oh, I forgot that phone, I apologize.
can you hear me okay?
Go ahead.
Okay. So I wanted to speak tonight about the council manager form of government. I saw the pamphlet that was on the website. I submitted tonight a letter from Van Amberg, Rogers, Yeppa, Abeda, Gomez, and Wilkinson, a law firm in Santa Fe, that have a lot of experience with election law and various types of law. The letter is really addressing a rumor that is going around. It's being spread by current appointees and former political appointees of this administration regarding districting. Under the commissioner-manager form of government, they're saying that if we vote it in, we'll only get to vote for one person from one district for a commissioner. Towns that are under 10,000 don't have to district. They can, it's an option, but they don't have to. So I'd like to read this part of this letter into the record. It says, you recently asked for my legal conclusion as to whether the town of Edgewood, if it elects to form the commission-manager form of government, is required to create 5 commissioner districts where one commissioner is to be elected from each of the 5 districts. The short answer is no. After reviewing the applicable law, I find that nothing in the law requires any town having populations less than 10,000, such as Edgewood, population 6198, to vote for single-member districts. The law does give the option for towns less than 10,000 to do so, but that is only an option. So statute 314.6 provides that a single-member district may be created, which means the only residency requirement for any commissioner is that he or she resides within the town of Edgewood, and all voters may vote for all 5 commissioners. So Adrian Terry, who is also an attorney, submitted a letter as well. His conclusions were the same. But just to make sure, I called all of the commission manager cities in New Mexico and found that those that were under 10,000, which are very close to our population, Aztec, Raton, and Truth or Consequences, all have commission manager forms of government and all vote for every commission district. So I just wanted to put a nail in that rumor because I find it to be an insult to the intelligence of the people of Edgewood that the current political appointees think they can spread these rumors and lies with an intention to deceive the public. It's extremely unethical, and it shows exactly why we need this new form of government. The commission manager form of government was actually created to stop corruption in small towns, and about 50% of the towns in the United States that are 2,500 and above are run on the commission manager form of government. And studies show that they have 57% less corrupt acts under this form than the mayor-council form of government. So I would like to say that we need this form of government in order for just these kind of reasons, that some people believe that they're not constrained by the facts or constrained by the truth and feel as political appointees even in current serving positions that they can try to deceive the public in order to sway a vote that they don't like because they might have to give up a little bit of their power back to the citizens of Edgewood. So I think we needed to restore honesty, ethics, and openness in the town of Edgewood. Thank you.
Next person is Karen Kaiser.
Okay, now I'm unmuted. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Hang on just a second, hang on.
Resident.
Hang on just a second. Hang on just a second.
Muted. Unmuted. I'm not sure if it's working or not. Could someone say yes or no?
Go ahead now with your comments.
Okay, thank you. Karen Kaiser. I called in tonight to say that I'm very much for the change to commission manager. I'm excited that it may create better governance for the town of Edgewood, and when I get my ballot in the mail, it'll be a real quick and easy decision. The council mayor system we have now hasn't worked. No mayor's ever been reelected, and what we have now gives way too much power to one person. It's called a strong mayor. So let's reduce the mayor's power from 100% to an equitable 20% and trust all 5 people seated up there to lead the town of Edgewood. Under the strong mayor rule, we're spending hundreds of thousands of dollars to take over EPCOR, yet not one EPCOR customer wants this to happen. In June, you've spent another $20,600 in EPCOR legal fees. Last month, another $20,000. And Mr. Mayor, you said you didn't know what the lawyers were doing for all that money. It now totals well over $100,000 in EPCOR-related legal fees, and I'm sure that a professional town manager would know what the lawyers were doing for the money. Under commission manager, if the governing body takes a crazy action, like condemning EPCOR water, we can vote to stop that bad decision by veto referendum. We only have that right if we vote for commission manager. Speaking of voting, we still have the right to vote for all 5, just like Jerry said. Don't believe those telling you otherwise. Please, residents of Edgewood, join me in voting for commission manager and putting an end to the strong mayor rule. Thank you.
Next person then is Linda Burke.
Hi everyone, it's been a while since I've been able to give you an update from the chamber.
Hang on, Linda, hang on. Hang on, Linda, hang on just a second.
Unmuted.
All right, shoot.
Okay,
Go ahead, Linda. Go ahead, Linda.
Thank you. It's been a while since I've been able to give you an update from the Chamber of Commerce, so I wanted to give you some information on what's been happening the last few months. Obviously, we've had a lot of business changes, limitations, shutdowns, reopenings, reclosings, et cetera. So the Chamber's been really active in trying to get information to our businesses locally and throughout the East Mountains on what loans are available. The PPP loans, for example, have been extended again. The deadline for that, for rehiring employees, et cetera. We've also been doing a lot of online and social media information campaigns on these subjects and what businesses are open in the region. In June, we ran 2 weeks of radio advertising for Discover Edgewood that was promoting the activities, businesses, and so forth that are here in an effort to, increase gross receipts taxes to bring people from Albuquerque out maybe for weekend stays with the opportunity to get away from the city a little bit. In addition to that, we've been working on some fall promotional events that are coming up. We're working with Rich Ford for a revamped Run, Rally, and Rock that will comply with social distancing. Some of the elements that we're hoping to include, although it's not finalized, are a large-scale drive-in movie, a car concert, fireworks, and possibly a car rally. All of these are intended to invoke the car theme as well as keeping people separated so that we are compliant with the state regulations. We're also looking at doing socially distanced compliant Bust and Clays in late September or early October. We've been promoting as many of the library events as we can that we're aware of, and the cleanup for this weekend as well. One thing I did want to mention on the sign ordinance, I had asked Hanya to be part of that process so that we could give input from the business community. I was unaware it had moved forward during this time, so I would very much like to receive a copy of that so that our business community can give some input to the process, since they're the ones that are largely impacted by it. And that's all I have for tonight.
Thank you, Linda. Is there anybody else who didn't ask to sign up who wants to speak? Okay, seeing none, then we'll move along. Hello?
Mayor, on Facebook there, someone, Linda Hill, says that she's been trying to get through.
Oh. Linda Hill, are you there? Linda, are you there, Linda Hill? Nobody's coming through. Okay, let's move on then.
Muted. Unmuted.
So the next item then is discussion items, matters from counselors. Counselor Abrams, he's not here. So we'll start with Counselor Abraham.
Okay, I wanted to thank Linda Burke for all that she's been doing and for the pop-up drive-in theaters. I understand those were very successful. So thanks, Linda. I have a couple things too. Thank you, Carla, for saying that you will be giving us monthly wastewater reports again. I think those are very important, especially as long as the hydrants are capped and the water is unusable for the roads. That's costing us quite a bit of money each month to buy water to put on our roads. And I would like to hear as soon as possible when we might have an update as to what needs to be repaired, what are the costs of the repairs or whatever to get our wastewater plant functioning at a point we can use the reuse water. I had one other question. At the very end of one of the meetings, I think the last regular meeting, Mr. Torres mentioned that we had a small spill behind Walmart. Can somebody talk a little bit more about that? I know previously when we had a spill, we had to make a report to NMED. Mm-hmm. Did we make a report to them? Because I haven't seen anything.
Yeah, that report was made and they were contacted right away.
Can you tell me how many gallons were spilled or where it was spilled exactly?
It was about less than a quarter of a mile east of Walmart on the north side of Church.
In the new line or the old line?
the reuse line.
Oh,
Put
it's
in
the
new
reuse line.
Reuse line?
Yeah.
Okay.
There was a
in the
fitting,
dark.
there's a fitting in there like
Yeah,
it's
within
like
the
an
reuse.
aerator fitting that, something that it lets like air in if you let the pressure off the line or something. And the thing, it busted for whatever reason. Maybe it froze in the wintertime or something, but it busted and they were able to get it fixed.
Okay, approximately how many gallons were spilled?
That I don't remember.
Carla, would you know on that one?
Yeah, hold on, I'll look it up. The water was coming out of an air vac vault lid and was estimated to be about 3 gallons per minute. Immediately isolated the reuse line and stopped the leak at approximately 15 hours. But because it was such a small leak, Councilor Abraham, there's no way to tell you how many gallons were lost.
Okay.
It was just, I don't know when we found it, and by that means we can't go back and tell you how many gallons were lost. We have pictures of it I can send you. It doesn't seem like a lot.
Okay. Look, I guess my biggest concern is the contamination level in our reuse water right now. So, do we have like a hazmat response team or something like that to address this thing because of the level of our reuse water right now?
No, they
reuse
just,
numbers are,
go ahead, Carla.
our reuse numbers are testing at the wastewater treatment plant does not show exceedingly high levels right now.
Okay, so why are the hydrants still capped?
The operator isn't ready to
Yeah.
give the go-ahead to start using it. He wanted a couple more tests of the thing to see what to compare to.
Okay, so we haven't seen those tests that show it's now within range and safe to put on the road?
We have. He just hasn't, he's not comfortable with it yet. He wants to get some consistency. And as soon as he says it's okay, we'll go ahead and use it on the roads again.
Okay, thank you. And then, I'm sorry Councilor Abrams isn't here because I wanted to thank him for getting the personnel policy on the agenda so that it can be discussed tonight. But maybe he'll be here later and I can thank him for that. The other thing that came up earlier under public comments was the amount of money that has been spent on the EPCOR research. I would like to know, I know at one point council approved, it was either $30,000 or $35,000 to be put into the budget for an appraisal. I do not recall council authorizing any other money to be spent. Can someone tell me when that was authorized and how much was authorized? And how much of that authorization do we still have left?
I don't know that we have them figures here tonight. Basically, council gave permission to investigate a possible purchase, and that's where we've been going. And as far as when they authorized, it's when they authorized the budgets.
All right, I would like to recommend that at the next council meeting, we have a breakdown that we can talk about that because we are going to be talking about budget at another special council meeting on July 29th. And I would like that available so we can see how much has been spent, how much you're anticipating still needs to be spent before a decision can be made. So those are my comments for tonight. Thank you. Oh, Councilor Abrams, thank you for getting the personnel policy on the agenda for discussion tonight.
Counselor Abrams, now that you've joined us, you want to give your council comments?
I really don't have much to comment on right now. I am glad that we have found a new chief, and I'm also happy that for the moment it looks like our budgetary position looks really rather healthy. I hope that stays that way. I don't think I have much more to say this evening, except my apologies for being a little tardy. I had someone in the family have a birthday, and it's a rather large two-digit number, so my apologies for being a little late.
Okay, thank you, Counselor. Counselor Jaramillo.
Good evening, everyone, and again, I just want to thank Leota for live streaming this and also for the public and your participation. I think it's great that even though we're having some technical difficulties, that we all can still continue to voice our opinions, etc. So just wanted to ask for any future special meetings, again, Mayor, that we have a agenda line item for public comment on any special meetings. I think it's really important that they be able to participate in any special meetings as well as the regular scheduled meetings. That's my request on that. As far as EPCOR goes, I did want to
Hey, hang on just a second. Hang on. Got to hold up. He lost the feed and that, so we got to hold up while he gets it back.
Okay, no problem.
Okay, go ahead.
Everybody can hear me now?
Yeah.
Everything's okay? All right. So I was just going to say on EPCOR, I share Councilor Abraham's concern as far as going kind of way beyond the previous council's approval for an appraisal. And I just wanted the record to reflect that that's my opinion on that. I don't think that you or administration were ever given approval to pursue information about funding or finding out about applications for funding, etc. And that's something that is overstepping the boundaries significantly. So I wanted the minutes to reflect that. Secondly, on EPCOR, just wanted to let you guys know I had left off with you last about finding more information on a P3, a public partner, private-public partnership. I can never say that right. But basically, doing something in coordination with EPCOR, or it could be another entity for all I know, on a water treatment center for the townspeople. And I think that that's one of the things that would solve the complaints out here. I don't think it's necessarily the company itself. And so I did want to bring that up to you guys again and just let you know that I do have some information, and so I can send that along. And I know you wanted to have information before adding it to an agenda for discussion. So I'll send that along for the next meeting, if there's no objection. And then on the sign ordinance, I did want to ask Tanya as well if P&Z had met since the February meeting of minutes that we had. Have they already been drafting the changes in the ordinance? Because you mentioned that you did have a draft, but yet Felton had said something about wanting our input first.
So, Mayor, Council, when I say really rough draft, I mean really rough. That started being written just for no really reason other than we don't like the sign ordinance and it's really hard to enforce. We were at a planning and zoning conference and it started getting written there just by spitballing some ideas. So that's what I mean by really rough. That's why we haven't had any public workshops, Linda Burke, in case you're listening still. We haven't done anything. We've got something really rough and I mean, it's some decent ideas, but I have no problem sharing what we have. But yeah, we haven't had anything with the public yet, so that's what I mean by really rough.
Okay. Okay, that's good to know, because I was just kind of curious what stage, if P&Z had made any changes at all. Okay. I think just to reiterate on that one, the main concern was the unconstitutionality of it, as far as the political signs being treated differently than the other communications. And so that is really, I think, the one core thing. I don't know that everybody wants to jump backwards into all of the other areas that can be difficult to get through, but we can talk about that later. So, all right, let's see. I heard Mr. McGill talk about millions of gallons of contaminated water on the ground. And when I hear that as a council member, I'm going, what in the world is he talking about? So, Carla or Juan, what is this concern?
Mayor Council, that's what, if you recall, Mr. Hall, when he was at the last meeting where we spoke, that's the alternative disposal system that's being used. Since November, there has not been any water put down on the roads. I mean, we just kind of shut it down for the winter, so the trucks haven't been putting anything on the roads since, I'm not sure when in November, but November of last year. The alternative disposal system was brought online early in the year, and then that's where the water's been put, the excess effluent right now. And if you recall, Mr. Hall specified that that's exactly what that's for. When you can't get rid of it through your normal means, that's why you have that alternative disposal. NMED was fully aware of it. We have to monitor, we've got a meter on there to monitor how much goes through there. There can only be so much per hour, per day, something like that. I'm not exactly sure what the requirements are, but we are disposing of that excess water right now on the alternative disposal site, which is town property.
Okay, and if I remember right, that's all fenced off, isn't it?
Yeah, it's fenced off. It's got some electric fence on there to keep cattle out of there. And it's got the proper signage, everything that's called out within the permit. As we move forward, we might want to look at putting a more permanent chain link fence up, but it is fenced off, and NMED does agree with what's been done and how it's been put in place up to this point. And they've authorized the use of this system.
Okay, thank you for clarifying that part. His other concern that I heard him say was about IFRAs not being answered, and I know that the town has had lawsuits in the past that they have lost actually on IFRAs not responding to them properly. So I would imagine this is a pretty critical area that I just want that to be, that just needs to be the highest ethics, guys. I don't know what's going on there, why he's not getting what he needs, but that's not good.
Well,
Not
Council, I can't speak specifically for what exactly he's talking about there, but there has been several requests for clarification from Mr. McGill as to what specifically he's asking for. And there's some things where him, along with many other people, they're asking for information that doesn't exist, and we can't provide what doesn't exist, or we need that clarification so we can provide him what he's looking for. To submit an IPRA and leave such a broad stroke, it's like, well, what exactly is this? And so I think there's been several emails, to our attorneys, to back, what do we do in this case? Because I'm not exactly certain what he's asking for, and we don't have that information. So we take it seriously. Just about every IPRA we get, if it's not something we can respond to right away, we do submit it to our attorneys and basically ask them for clarification. We're not playing games. We're not sitting there and saying, "Ooh, Counselor Jaramillo, I'm going to wait for yours to get, I'm going to hold yours for the maximum amount." We try and respond to them as quick as we can. But sometimes we need clarification. Sometimes we need more, we just need more information, or sometimes we just don't have what they're asking for. Or in the format that they're asking for. We can only do so much with respect to IPRA. We can't create documents for them to, what they're asking for. So sometimes, and it's often the frustration of a lot of people, they'll get the information, they don't like the format, or they don't like what form it's in of whatever sorts, but we can't create it to their liking. We have is what we have, and that's what we provide.
Anything else, Counselor?
Oh, yes, I do have quite a few other things, Mayor. I just did want to say that I just encourage you guys to keep communicating with Mr. McGill or whoever it may be in the community. If you don't understand something, I'm sure he'd be happy to answer an email or a phone call about it. And if you don't have records, you're telling him specifically, this does not exist, right? So he knows. Because if you don't tell him that, he's just going to say, well, they didn't give it to me. But then maybe it really didn't exist. So anyway, I'm just saying, work on the communication. All right, the budget of the county, where we left off last with the equestrian center, I'm not letting this go, guys. This is really important to the community. Perfect time of year to be out there riding. The budget on the county, how can we support them with this equestrian center? I saw a posting that, I don't know if this is true or not, there's a lot of the truth about Edgewood and the core sites and all of this out there, claiming there's something like over $3 million that the mayor has gathered up or something like that. So guys, if we have millions of dollars, let's, in the budget workshop,
Mr. Mayor,
address this.
really?
Excuse
me, if I could interrupt for just a second.
I have the floor, Counselor.
Counselor Abrams, she does.
Because this is just insane. First of all, you know the budget. If there's $1 million somewhere and we're not spending it on roads, I guarantee
Counselor Abrams, let her finish.
Complain.
Counselor Jaramillo, can you wrap it up?
That's why I put that disclaimer. That's exactly why I put that disclaimer out there, because it's a PNC person, a political appointee, stating this about the budget. So anyway, I'm just saying, I don't know exactly what he was saying. I'm just saying that if we have some extra funds that we didn't expect because of GRT and because of everyone stocking up on items in April and May, right? We know this was happening. Let's see what we can do to support the community with the equestrian center. That's what I'm saying. So the county's budget, do we have any further information on that? If not, I would be ready to just add this as an agenda item next time so that we can figure out what we're doing with our 2 resolutions to address open space. Because it's important to the Edgewood lifestyle that we address these 2 things. So I'm just requesting that, and unless Juan, if you've heard anything else about the budget.
Well, Mayor, Council, with respect to the county, we're still waiting to hear back from the county. The last thing we had was a discussion with the commissioner. We're still trying to get a meeting with the county manager so we can discuss it, because as I stated in previous meetings, with respect to the resolution for the equestrian center, we brought that to their attention. They kind of said, that's a nice idea, we'll get back to you, and never heard anything. And since COVID, we've really had, we can get in touch with the commissioner, but anyone else up there, we're having a little bit of tough time getting the meeting set up. But it's not for lack of trying. I mean, we're waiting from the county. I mean, it's their asset. It's their, it's the ball's in their court. We can pledge support and everything, but I mean, if they don't want it or they don't, communicate with us as to how they want us to support, I don't even know how we can have that conversation.
Counselor, what else you got?
So yes, also, this goes along with what I've asked for in the past was youth programming to be added on to the future agenda. So again, I believe that you're in violation of Operating Resolution 2016-06 because we had 3 counselors who agreed to have youth programming on the next agenda. It was not added on at this meeting, and I think the prior meeting you said there were no agenda items, but there were. So just asking again, I specifically remember last year getting accused of not accomplishing anything and using that resolution as an excuse, Mayor. Well, this is why, because I cannot get it on the agenda, even now with 3 counselors who have.
What are you talking about?
Get it on the agenda.
What resolution or whatever are you talking about?
The operating resolution to get the youth program on the agenda because we have funding that was due to expire.
That's in our operating
that I've been
resolution?
for 2 years to use for our community's youth.
Now, you saying that's in our operating resolution?
Adding things to the agenda, Mayor.
No. I'm saying, you said there was a resolution already that 3 counselors had put forward. What is that one?
No, I was just saying that, the previous mayors have said that Operating Resolution 2016-06 means that any counselor can add an agenda item, right?
2016-06?
You were taking a different interpretation of that, but...
What is
and saying that I had
2016-06?
to have 3 counselors agree.
What is
So-
2016-06?
Maybe I got that number wrong, sorry. I don't have the operating resolution right in front of me. But if
Go
you
ahead
want
to your
to
next
talk
item.
about
Go ahead to your next item. Let's wrap it up. There's other people in line here.
Well, I think what I have to say is really important for the community. I mean, youth, budget, equestrian center, EPCOR, these are all super important topics. So please don't rush me. All right. So that's youth programming. I want that on the next agenda. I wanted to let you guys know that there's some false information out there as well. And this may have come from our discussion about the audit findings where Councilor Abrams, I think, may have misunderstood that the audit is simply only financial information only. And so I believe that your appointee for P&Z has put out there that audit findings were not supposed to be included in the audit if they weren't related to financial matters. And I can tell you that is not true as a governmental auditor and CPA who audits governments every day. I did want to let you guys know, the real story on that. First of all, our state auditor in the state audit rule does talk about how, auditors shall comply with the requirements of the government auditing standards and GAGAs relating to fraud, non-compliance, with provisions of laws, regulations, contracts, agreements, waste, and abuse. And so all of those things have to be covered. They even go so far as to this, which is, I'm going to read it to you guys just so there's no confusion. All communications with management and the agency, meaning the town, with the town's administration and governance, during the audit regarding any instances of non-compliance or internal control weaknesses shall, when you see that shall, it means you don't have an option, be made in writing. The auditor shall obtain and report the views of responsible officials, meaning the town governance, of the audited agencies concerning the audit findings pursuant to GAGAS 6.57- to 6.60. Any violation of law or even good accounting practice, including instances of non-compliance or internal control weaknesses, shall be reported as audit findings per section 1265 NMSA 1978. So I just want to reiterate, you guys, that we have a very strict state auditor. It's always not just this state auditor, but the office, is what I'm saying, my entire career. I mean, if I walk by a client and let's say their doors aren't locked and should be, or whatever it is, if it's a good practice,
Counselor, come on.
I am actually required to report that as an auditor. So I just wanted to kind of dispel that false information that's being put out there that the audit findings should not have been audit findings, because that is absolutely false. Okay, so let you guys know the facts on that one. Next, I wanted to say that I have the information on EBCA's reentry plan for education for our kiddos in the town. I've taken a look at it and I think it's excellent. Excellent. They have done a fantastic job. And so next on my list is to take a look at the MESD's reentry plan as well. The governor put out, I think it was a 38 points of, all kinds of different requirements for our kids re-entering school this fall. And so there's a lot going on with that. But I just wanted to congratulate EBCA for doing the best that they can under really difficult circumstances. And I'm sure MESD has as well. They had a board meeting last night and I just haven't been able to look at it yet. So, and then I did want to ask that Mr. Adrian Terry and I think it was Van Amber's letters be put into the record. I think that was already requested, but just wanted to make sure that the public with the minutes can read those two attorney letters about the fact that Edgewood does not have to district until over 10,000 and the public would still vote for commissioners as they do now for counselors. And so that is another big information gap that's incorrect out there. And lastly, I did want to thank the Cowboy Church because I saw in the police department report that they had provided some food for a department meeting, and I have attended over there and think that the church is really great. I really appreciate their support of the police department and providing the food, and they're very Edgewoodian, I would say. They have some great leaders over there and some really great people attending over at EBCA on Sundays. So wanted to thank them for that. And that's all I have for tonight. Thank you.
Well, Counselor Holly, if you're still there, go ahead.
All right. Thank you. I've heard some opinions expressed tonight, and I'm going to start off with mine. Typically, what the council persons have done during matters from the counselors is to basically share announcements with the public and talk about the work that they have done on behalf of the town. Tonight, I've heard subjects from our counselors talking about wastewater treatment plant, the youth, budget, equestrian center, EPCOR, and I've got to say, I think it's a big disservice to our citizens because none of those topics are on the agenda, And I know people will look at the agenda and decide, gosh, should I listen tonight? Is there anything, that I really want to hear? And when these things are not even agenda items, but we go on ad nauseum about them, I think we're not being open and transparent to the public like we like to be. So that's my soapbox, and I will get on with a few announcements that I have. At our local library, we've got 3 programs coming up 3 days in a row, Thursday, Friday, Saturday. Tomorrow at 1 o'clock, and all these are online. We're still not open in person for business at the library, but these are online events. Tomorrow, Thursday at 1 o'clock, the event is entitled Aesop's Fables with Opera Unlimited. And it sounds like it'll be a real fun musical presentation. The opera will bring to life 3 of Aesop's fables. On Friday at 1 o'clock, the event is entitled Music and Magic from Polka Kingdom with Pint-Sized Polkas. Some more music, different kind. That will be 1 o'clock on Friday. And then Saturday, the event is entitled Javelin Rockets with Science Spectrum. And the description there, it says, blast off into space with your own homemade rocket. If you need more information about any of these events that are online through our local library, you can contact the library directly at 281-0138, and you may find more information on the town's website and the library's Facebook page as well. And finally, not quite finally, Friday, the town is sponsoring free community dumpsters out at the soccer field park area. The hours are from 8 until 4 p.m. this Saturday, and it's only open to Edgewood residents. So you can come and toss your trash, but we're not taking anything like motors, oil, tires, and no commercial construction debris. And it looks like the town is planning on doing that the last Saturday of each month, July through September. Now here's finally. I did speak to First Choice today to find out how the food distribution was going over there, and they said they're getting good response. They do plan to continue for the foreseeable future. And again, their food distribution is primarily fruit and vegetables, and it's every second Wednesday. So they had their event today, the 22nd of July, and the next one will be on August 5th at 2:30 in the afternoon. And again, there's no qualifying criteria. That's it for me. Thank you.
Thank you, Counselor. Next item is matters from the Clerk Treasurer. Mr.
Mayor.
Mr. Abrams, what do you got?
There is one thing I'd like to put out there for the community. The New Mexico Department of Health will be having a drive-through COVID testing on Saturday the 25th from 8 a.m. till 10 a.m. And it will be at the old Edgewood Elementary School parking lot, which is also the town hall's sort of adjacent parking lot. So I just wanted to put that out there. Forgot to mention it.
And that's on this Saturday.
That is this Saturday from 8 a.m. until 10 a.m.
Okay.
Mayor,
Counselor, you've talked enough. I want to go to the Clerk Treasurer and get his report. Mr. Torres, go ahead.
Mayor, Council, so I'm gonna have Carlos chime in as well, but I wanted to let you guys know one of the things that came out of the special legislative session with respect to the internet tax was House Bill 6, that was 2019, and then 2020, the special session. They decided to adjust or amend the amount. So with the outbreak or onset of COVID-19, there's a lot more internet purchases happening, and the state recognizes that. They're still on track for 2022 to start getting the destination sales. So in the meantime, what they plan to do is double the allocation. So they were currently giving 24 million to local governments, and now they're doing 48 million. So what that means to us for this upcoming fiscal year is we'll get an extra $3,428 a month. So for the total fiscal year, in additional funding, we'll have $34,283 from this bill. So the total amount for internet sales tax of the town is going to be $75,423.04. And that'll take effect. We'll see the first increase in our distribution on that in September for July sales, and then that'll last until the new destination sales takes effect in 2021. Sorry. So that's pretty much the update we have on that from Tax and Rev. And then I think Carla has several things she wants to address. One of them will be that $50,000 that was allocated for programs. Ms. Salazar?
Carla, go ahead.
Yeah. That's the only thing I really wanted to address. I've missed the last few meetings, and I apologize for that, but we were awarded $50,000 for programming in the last legislative session. COVID really put a damper on that because our plan was to do a lot of summer youth programs. Councilor Jaramillo had set me up with a Rio Grande Educational Collaborative, and we were on the verge of getting a program together when COVID hit. They ended up scaling back to just do 4 programs for kids of essential workers, so it couldn't happen this summer. The plan is still to have it happen next summer, and hopefully we can get that summer youth program together. But because of COVID, all the programs became virtual or non-existent. So where we spent that money is in a couple of places. We expanded Wi-Fi to the park in front of Town Hall, and we expanded the Wi-Fi signal at Venus Park. And oddly enough, this will be especially important this school year. I mean, we didn't anticipate it, but the fact that we now have free Wi-Fi available in a bunch of places in the town of Edgewood will really help, I think, with kids having to do a lot of online learning. There's not a lot of good Wi-Fi signal. There's a lot of places in Edgewood that are dead to Wi-Fi. And I think by providing a place where people can go get free Wi-Fi, this turned out to be kind of a really good thing. It's available now in all our town parks. It's available in front of Town Hall, in front of the library. I know the police have stopped enforcing kind of the hours of operation from sun up to sundown so that people can use it whenever they need it. They're not chasing people off who are sitting in the parking lots using Wi-Fi, so that's been pretty phenomenal. We also used a lot of the funds for a spay and neuter clinic for dogs and cats. We bought Neighborhood Watch National Night Out materials, which once again, because of COVID, we didn't really get to do a national night out this year, but we do have the materials, so as soon as we can gather, we will do those programming. We bought materials for the summer programming at the library, which once again had to be done online. We funded the programs the library put on virtually. We funded the Summer Youth Arts Program in conjunction with the Arts Alliance and the MESD Summer Lunch Program. Once again, that had to be done with people picking stuff up, taking it home, doing it at home, and bringing it back. But if you like, I can bring Sandra in from the Arts Alliance. It was a pretty successful summer youth program, even though we didn't get to do it in person. We funded the movie licenses for the drive-in movie nights that the Chamber of Commerce did at Church Street Market, which I'm sure Linda told you were probably incredibly successful. And that's about why we ended up with COVID. It has really hurt programming this summer. And so we haven't given up on any of those summer youth programs. We will try once again to work with the Rio Grande Educational Collaborative next year. It's a phenomenal program. They were as impacted by COVID as all of us were. So all of these have been good. Hopefully they'll be better next summer and they'll be able to be done in person. I just kind of wanted you all to know we're trying and we're not giving up. And one of our big focuses is summer youth programming. And once we're through this public health order and COVID, we will be back on track to do these in person.
Thank you, Carla.
I do have some other comments. I know the council will probably have questions about some of my spending during the finance report, so I will be back for that.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Anything else, Mr. Torres?
No, Mayor, Council, that'll be it for now.
Okay, and matters from the mayor, I've got a couple, 2 or 3 things. First one is school matters, and the MESD has reached out trying to gather ideas for how they could handle the return to school, given the funky schedule and that they sort of tossed out there of 2 days on, 3 off. And that's going to affect parents a lot. Teachers have kids, employees have kids and stuff here. And so we have parents with kids here. And what we're trying to do is set something up. Maybe we've got the free Wi-Fi, as Carla was speaking about there. And it's located over by the old community center there, over here at the soccer field, right out here in front of this building, in front of the library. And it's available for people to use. We had talked with the superintendent there, and they're looking for ideas like for how to, what to do with kids when their parents need to go to work and the kids are not in the school. So if they have no access at home for internet, they can avail themselves of this. One idea that we've floated around is allowing them to use the parks later than normal to have access to that Wi-Fi. And we want to talk to Santa Fe County and MESD about a partnership to make Wi-Fi available outside their facilities in Edgewood, over to schools or over here by the fire station or anything like that. So anyway, internally, what we're looking at maybe is allowing some flex scheduling for our employees with children so they can be with their kids when they need to be. And that could mean employees working weekends or 10 to 12-hour shifts or part-time if necessary. And it may even allow call for allowing children to come to work with their parents. It may be easier to have parents work with their kids at home rather than at work. These are all things we've got to try to sort out. If the kids are old enough, they could try to, we could maybe try something here for our employees' kids in a part of the library over there that's hooked up to the computers and all that, and give them time in there, and that way they'd be close enough here for the parents and them to look after them, while at the same time they're able to log in and join their classmates at school. One of the roadblocks, though, on all of this is that the school district, they can't provide an employee to watch anybody that would be here. So one of the things we're trying to figure out is how would you have some kids maybe in here and somebody keeping an eye on them and making sure they're, you know, in front of the computer or doing whatever it is they need to do. But the Wi-Fi is available at these different areas, and basically right now we've told the school that, you know, it's there, it's available, if they want to try to do something along those lines, but they're still trying to sort it out. They don't have an answer because they've got a lot of employees that also have kids. And that's where the hang-up seems to be the worst, is under this idea they've got of 2 days on and a day off to clean, and then 2 more days or whatever with a different group of kids. That's basically 3 days that the parents have kids that they're not at school. And so with the kids being back together a little bit, then there's concern that, you know, they'll pick up the COVID or whatever else and you'll have it to bring back. And so it's not a finished plan by any means, and they are seeking ideas. So if you all have any ideas, please share them with them. Another thing I have is I'd like to give you an update on PPE loans that Linda Burke talked about earlier there. Here in Edgewood, we had a little over 80 businesses or companies that participated in that. And there was essentially about $2,050,000 that came into businesses and companies here in the Edgewood area. There were 4 large ones that were over $100,000. And so that has affected and impacted this area with the spending that came with it. So I think we had a pretty good showing on that. The other item I wanted to share with you is out at the sewer plant. They are working as we speak on the concrete drying pad out there. And so we've got several pictures here of TLC out there working to pour the concrete and get that thing plumbed into the plant so that it's available if we need to dump the waste out there and let it dry up before it gets hauled off to the landfill. So that's ongoing as we speak and should be done here sometime in August. That's the main thing I have. I would just like to comment about some of the comments I heard. You know, I mean, I'm seeing stuff here that could be taken up with staff anytime to turn a meeting into a grandstanding opportunity to bring up all this. If you want answers to this stuff, it's easier to work with staff and get it. And I would encourage all of you counselors to work with staff and get your answers there so our meetings can move along a little bit better. Okay, the next item then is action items, and our first one is a public hearing, discussion, consideration, action on adoption of ordinance 2020-02, adopting by reference the 2015 International Fire Code and repealing and replacing ordinance 1999T. Ms. Mortensen, you're still there with us? Would you like to take us through this?
Yes. So we have not adopted a recent international fire code since 1999, and the one that we've been operating under is 1997. So there's been quite a push from Santa Fe County for us to come into compliance with the state and with them. So that's what we're doing tonight. Some of the language that you see under Section 1, adopting by reference, mirrors what Santa Fe County's ordinance number 2018-08 is. But we didn't want to do the whole thing because there's a lot of language in there that references their land use, and we don't want to use their land use. We want to use our own. So that's initially what we're doing is coming into compliance with the state and Santa Fe County by adopting this.
Right, and basically we have gotten a little bit of grief that, you know, we're too far behind with the 1997, I think it is, isn't it? That's actually in place. It was adopted in 99. And so basically this is a little bit of house cleaning to get us up into the 21st century with the fire code that we follow. And that falls in line with what Santa Fe County does. They do provide our fire services here. And so, as always, working with them seems like the smart thing to do. Council have any questions? Otherwise, I'll entertain a motion on this one.
I have a question, Mr. Mayor. Does this address at all anything to do with like the fireworks or any kind of thing like that at all? The ban on fireworks, the open fire ban?
I don't know if it has that in there. It's an awful big code. I believe what it speaks to mostly is fire code for building buildings.
Is that?
Yes, that is correct. This has mainly to do with emergency access and for buildings to have the proper, I just read it too, fire flow requirements for a building.
Okay, so how is this going to impact like homes or buildings that have already been built that were built to the previous standards. If they sell this, are they going to have to bring it up to this new code?
No.
I don't think.
Abraham, I don't believe so. We were operating under an old one, but Santa Fe County Fire still went underneath whatever code that they had. They've been current with all of theirs, so they have to still operate under that, and as well as whatever the state had. So now they've matched. They won't revert back to a 1997 one if they're operating under a 2015. They can't. So I think the buildings are just fine.
Okay, because I have a question. Doesn't CID, the construction industries, give certificate of occupancies, which actually has to meet their codes already?
They have an international building code that they operate under, so yes. But you have to remember that Santa Fe County works hand in hand with CID on buildings, so if there's something wrong, they work together to correct it with the applicant.
Okay. All right. Well, this is a huge 600-page document that I was only able to access late this afternoon. And I'm not sure if any of the people who would like to weigh in on this in the public hearing portion of it had any difficulty accessing it or not. It's my understanding that for a while the active leak wasn't linking, or at least for me, I couldn't get it. So I just, I personally do we have only one public hearing on this, or will there be two?
I think this is a one hearing one. And by the way, that is a public hearing, so.
It's a big document,
Yeah.
that needs some consideration. Before, when we passed things and then we didn't really look at them, or the public didn't have a chance to look at them, I'm just a little bit concerned what impact it may have on what we're doing right now as to what changes. There's nothing to compare this to, so we can't see like the red line version or anything like that. It's just like bigger than my mind has been able to comprehend in this last afternoon.
Mayor, may I say something? This isn't a document that you can cherry pick and decide what you wanted and what you don't. We really need to match what the state and Santa Fe County have. I didn't get any calls of anybody wanting to read it. It's also, everybody had the link. You could type it in if you really wanted to read it. But like I said, we really need to be in compliance. So there isn't really anything in here you can say everything but this, and this. We need to mirror what Santa Fe County has.
But didn't you just say that you didn't want to accept it all because some of it has to do with their land use codes?
No, that's their
we
ordinance.
didn't want their whole ordinance that was adopting it. They put language in there that talks about their
Two different
land
things, Counselor.
Sorry.
No, I was just telling Counselor Abraham two different things she's talking about there. The one is the International Fire Code, and then the other one is Santa Fe County's ordinance.
That adopted the International Fire Code.
Yes, but it also has other stuff in there that we don't want to use. Can't or don't want to use. But that's their ordinance. That's not the fire code.
So then, is it my understanding that we're only accepting
The International Fire Code.
So what is this Appendix B and, let me see, let me find it. Let me look at the ordinance. So we're adopting by reference this whole entire 600-page unit, which includes Appendix Chapter B and D. What is Chapter B and D?
Chapter B is fire flow requirements for buildings, and Chapter D is fire apparatus access roads. I believe that the reason that we mirrored that language, the reason I think that they call that out is because that's two very important things that the fire inspectors that we work with look at, especially when it comes to our development reviews, and this is why I included it. They look at emergency access for anything new. So if they've got a driveway that's over 150 feet, they need to have a hammerhead or a turnaround down there. So this is important to call those things out because that is exactly what they inspect when we send them development reviews.
Okay, so these are things we're already doing, correct?
Yes.
Okay. And my other question is, it says here that it shall be available upon request and payment of a reasonable charge. What is the reasonable charge? Will it change? Who sets it? And where does that money go?
Carla, can you answer that since you're the one who deals with IFRS?
Mayor, Council, I'll answer that. So that's the same thing as all of our public records requests, the 25 cents per page. And then it goes to the town, the funding goes to the town's general fund. If they have a brand new USB drive or something they'd like to bring in, we can, or they'd like us to, provide them a link where they can download a PDF version of it. That's available as well. It is actually on our website, and it is there for people to view and download. But if they actually want a hard copy, it would be the same as public records request, and that's set by state statute, and I believe you guys can set and change, up to a certain amount per page. But right now, the current going rate is 25 cents per page.
Okay, could we maybe, instead of say the payment of a reasonable charge, maybe say something about the same as IFRS documents or something, just something to, I mean, a reasonable charge to me may not be a reasonable charge to someone else. It just seems kind of vague.
Mayor, I just want to point out that this is the same language that we've had all along when it comes to adopting by reference. It's the same one that we used for the international or traffic code.
Mm-hmm.
I just want to this is the first time we've used it.
Okay, thank you.
Public hearing portion?
Yeah. For the public listening, is there anybody that would wish to comment about this?
I think if there are elements in this.
Excuse me, ma'am. Could you tell me your name?
To the price of every house we built.
Excuse me, ma'am? Could you tell me your name?
I think we need to understand exactly what's in here.
Ma'am, could you tell me your name? Could you tell me your name?
I don't know. It's Martha Eden.
Martha Eden. Go ahead.
And I'm a realtor, and our regulations now, I had a guy tell me today from Texas that if I sold this house, which I pointed to him as I did sell it, for just under $300,000, he said in Texas that would have to have a golf course frontage. So, I mean, our state has built these horrible regulations that make everything in here more expensive, even though we're one of the poorest states in the country, makes our housing more unaffordable than practically every state around us. So there. That's what I think.
Is there any other public comment?
Yes.
Yes. This is Ray Seegers. Okay. And my question to Tanya, actually, have you analyzed what the additional expenses will be, to our real estate, to our housing, if we adopt this? And because and I've studied this code about several years ago, and we found It's a very urban code, which could be very damaging to, the type of large lot development which we seek out here. And if you have to, take your water systems and expand them to a certain point, most of the things in this code relate to urban environments. And it's a lot different in expense when you spread what they require over 2 acre, 3 acre, 5 acre, 10 acre tracts. A lot of overkill there. Now, one of the things we did, I'm going to say 5 years ago or more, I made a study personally of Route 66 between Edgewood and Moriarty. And I counted at that time 83 different business entities along Old 66 in Torrance County. And that was some buildings where there were 2 or 3 businesses, churches, but just the various commercial-like entities that are on 66. When you hit the Edgewood city limits, there were 4 businesses. And that's because we adhered to the wishes of the Santa Fe County Fire Department and the code they were under at that time. And I called the fire chief in Torrance County, and they had a much more sensible outlook. They adhered to the state code. And that's why you can have businesses on large lots, for instance. You got to have a metal building on 3 acres. It doesn't have the same fire code requirement that we would have under this international code. If you adopt it, we won't get any of those businesses again. And, we'll be sitting here in that strip on 66 with no gross receipts tax, no business that can afford to go there. Because at that time, the study showed, and EPCOR was involved in giving me some numbers, that it would cost about $1 million to get the type of water line that Santa Fe required along Old 66 up to the Torrance County line, and actually the Williams Ranch Road overpass. And I'm sure that cost has gone way up. So when you adopt this type of thing, have you studied the cost and the unintended consequences to our lifestyle and our large lot desire? Anybody hear that?
Yeah.
When we have Santa Fe County weigh in on our development review, they look at 2 things. They look at emergency access, and they look at if it was a commercial building, the size of it, and if it's going to need sprinkler or not. We haven't had anything where someone doesn't have, a fire hydrant close by or whatever it may be. But so I think that you're thinking that Santa Fe County is a lot deeper into our development review than what they are.
Whoa, wait a second.
Whoa.
I want to say something. This is Martha East again. When the old mill wanted to open up, it was delayed by 2 years because the Santa Fe County Fire Inspector wanted the hay barn, that storage hay barn, to be sprinkled.
Well, yeah.
And yet that's not required in Torrance County.
There are
Well, they've got 5 feet stores.
They have different fire ratings for things. A hay barn is something that can catch on fire pretty easily, so I kind of get that.
But it's not required under Torrance County's rules and the code they go under. And we're a little bit more like Torrance County when it comes to wanting large lots and the type of lifestyle we want out here than the city of Santa Fe and the county of Santa Fe in and around the city. Anybody hear that?
Does anybody else wish to speak?
Yes, sir. This is Jerry Powers. I have a question. Does this code require sprinklers, internal sprinklers for residential?
Only if they don't have, I would imagine only if they don't have, fire
When you
flow.
say,
Hold on just a second, hold on.
Muted. I'm muted.
Okay, go ahead.
so when you say you imagine, you're not sure whether sprinklers are required for residential in this code?
I can have the fire inspector give you that answer.
Is he there?
But, I mean, we've had a lot of single-family residents built since I've been here, and they haven't required sprinklers with anybody.
Of course, that's been under this existing code, right?
They still have to go they still have to go by the code that they've adopted. They can't revert back to 1997 just because we don't have it. But it's better to be in compliance with what the state has and the county.
Well, I've been a home builder for decades, and I can tell you that I was a member of the Home Builders Association, which did a study and determined that the cost of housing in Santa Fe and the urbanized areas of Santa Fe County was 40% of the cost of the home. So what that means is, everybody puzzles about the disappearing middle class and how come kids can't make the jump from apartments into housing. And that's the answer, is overregulation for the most part. And I visited with the Santa Fe County fire chief and talked to him about doing something on my farm, putting a residence out there for my father who was elderly and I needed to take care of him. And at one point in time, he showed me, he said, well, we've adopted 4 different fire codes. So there's no way that you can adopt 4 different fire codes and have any level of fairness or consistency in the people that want to build homes. He wanted me, at that point, they'd gone, off in a direction where they wanted every residence in the county to have a 10,000-gallon water tank. And I told him, that's out of the affordable range of most people. And the first thing that happens when a mobile home catches on fire is the electric line severs from the pole to the house. And he said, well, then we should require you to have a on-site diesel generator. So, these things can get totally out of whack, and they usually do, and then people get irate, and then they roll it back a little bit. But the progressive cost of overregulation, we're not Santa Fe, we're not the county of Santa Fe, we don't have the same income levels, we don't have the same demographics or needs here that they have. It's like a totally different world. And most cities don't adopt the county codes of the county they reside in. So I'm going to say, I think somebody ought to do a document comparison. It's not that hard to do with word processing programs, and figure out what this new code adds, because, saying that you don't imagine that it does that is not sufficient analysis to know what it's going to do to the people that live here. If the children that want to live here, they're going to be doomed to living in apartments or some kind of high-density housing in Albuquerque instead of being able to afford a home, because affordability has a lot to do with building codes.
So I don't think you're hearing me. I've been here for almost 4 years, and with everything that Santa Fe County has reviewed for us, they have not had anybody sprinkler their home.
Sprinklers is just one example.
Let me finish. Their main concern is emergency access and to make sure that they have all-weather driving surface so they don't sink to their axles and so they can fit through the gate. That is their main concern with us.
Okay, well, I was just using sprinklers as an example because they did require it in Santa Fe County for the longest time. And that's what I'm saying. This regulation seems to come and go. And it goes higher and people yell and then they bring it back down. But let me ask you this. Would you be willing to do a document comparison so that the public could actually see what the changes are and they'll know what the impact of this might be? Maybe it's nothing, but maybe it's, $10,000 more than the cost of a house.
So do you want me to compare it to 1997?
Yeah, the code that you're planning on adopting, compare it to the one you already have and see what the changes will be instead of making the public hunt and pack and go through all that.
If the council wishes.
Leota, you have a question?
Yeah, I do have a question.
Hang on just a second. Let him get you a microphone so you come across.
Thank you. Yikes. My question is for Tanya, and I'm looking for a little bit of clarification. It sounded to me like you said that if Santa Fe County is doing any kind of an inspection in Edgewood, they're already using this other fire code, and so you're just coming into line with that. And so I just would like to see if you could clarify whether that's the case.
Yes, Leota, that is correct. So we have not been in compliance with state or county since 1999. We're just trying to come in compliance with them right now, but they cannot revert back to 97. So whatever code that they've already had adopted, that's what they've been using as it is.
So I have a question that came up under the talk about fire flow. Is there sufficient fire flow in every vacant residential lot that's already been developed in Edgewood?
I don't know that there's an answer to that.
No, I agree. I don't know the answer to that. I'm not sure, but I think there's something that you guys are kind of misunderstanding. We are adopting an international fire code, not a county code. This is an international fire code, not county.
Right.
So does every county use this code?
I don't know. I know it's an international fire code. I'm not sure what other counties do. We are only going to mirror what the county does because they are our emergency response. If we had our own, we'd have to probably do what the state does, which is the 2015 International Fire Code. So we're not adopting a county thing. We're mirroring our emergency response team to come in compliance.
Right, right. But we've had them as our emergency response team for 20 years without being in compliance. I guess my question is, okay, if I have a lot that does not have fire flow, but I can provide a driveway long enough for the Santa Fe County fire truck to get in, is that what they're requiring now? Or are they going to require if, say I want to build on a lot that's already developed, has water, electricity, and everything, but there's no fire flow?
Okay, so let me put it back on you. If you have a home that is far from a hydrant and your house is on fire, how quickly do you want it put out?
Well, that's what I'm asking. Is the fire department going to require a fire flow and a fire truck access? Or will one or the other? I'm just trying to understand. I'm not trying to be difficult. But I do know there are plenty of lots that have already been developed, like before the town was a town, that are on the market for sale because, I was a realtor as well. If they have water and electricity, people assume they can build on that without any additional expense. So if they have to bring fire flow, who pays for that?
So they may not have to bring fire flow, but one of the questions that we ask on our development application is, where's the closest hydrant? Meaning, how many minutes will it take them to fill up if they have to go back and fill up? They already come with water in the tank. So if they have to go back and fill up, how long is that going to take them? So sometimes what they have them do is they have a big tank on their property that they can put water in, and that can be part of their fire flows, so to speak. So there's different ways. It doesn't go all the way right to sprinklers, and it doesn't go to you've got to put a hydrant in. On new subdivisions, like large subdivisions, hydrants are going to be maybe even like a 5-lot subdivision. If there's not a hydrant there, you may have to bring a hydrant to your subdivision. I mean, it's just, the health and safety and welfare of the community. We don't want people.
Right. My concern is for the lots that are already developed out there. And there are a lot of them. There's a ton of them. And so those are the ones that people are going to, like Mr. Seeger said, those are the affordable lots. So people who don't have a ton of money will buy an affordable lot, thinking that they could put an affordable home on there. But, so is this a CID requirement, or this is a requirement before the permit is approved? Or at what process would the homeowner or the landowner find that they needed to do this? And is it already a process now?
It's already a process now. So we get the development application. We look at, make sure that the person that's applying is the owner, they have proof that they have a real estate contract or something like that. Then we make sure that they're not in a flood zone. Then we make sure that all the information is correct. Then we send it to the fire inspector and we say, here's what we have, and they look at it. They look at where it's at, they Google that, they make sure, where's the closest hydrant. They know where all the hydrants are. If they see a problem, then they let us know. But like I said, I've been here almost 4 years now, and we have not had one yet that needed sprinklers or they had to put in a hydrant. We just haven't had that. Maybe we've been lucky, I don't know. But this is what I'm saying. This isn't CID, this is fire. This isn't the building code, this is the fire code.
Right.
Okay.
Mr. Mayor?
Go ahead.
I have a question.
Go ahead, Councilor Hawley.
Okay, so Santa Fe County provides our fire services, and we have a joint powers agreement with them. Are we jeopardizing that agreement if we do not adopt this code?
Yes, Councilor Hawley, we are. This is why they have been pushing us to get this done.
And that's the thing. That's one of the things we've been trying to work on with them, and they would like us to be up to date and even with them with the requirements that they follow, because they do provide our fire protection. So it's, like I say, it's mainly a housekeeping sort of a situation. I understand what the callers have said and stuff, but I don't think it's going to be something that'll quash development.
Mr. Mayor?
Yes, sir. Councilor Abrams.
So at this point, we are having this fire code applied to us externally through the development review process. So it has been applied to us for at least the last 4, maybe even 5 years. Something that I do know about International Fire Code as well as International Electric Code and several other international organizations who are basically governing, if you will, the trades in construction, is that all of these codes are under continuous development and review. Currently, the state fire marshal is using the International Fire Code of 2003 and not 20, or is it 20, yeah, is it 2003? Let me look at it. International Fire Code of 2003 and a thing called the Construction NFPA Fire Prevention Code, -1. So I think if we are going to do this to fall in line, I think that's just fine. I like the idea of having parity with the organization that is actually reviewing the construction, because that way it becomes much more easy for developers to find out what is required. You know, and I've heard the arguments from the public. I understand that there are things that have to be met as far as codes go. You know, fire safety and homeowners insurance go kind of hand in hand. I want to remind everybody that if we are not up to snuff, that our insurance on our homes, and this doesn't matter who you are, will change. So being up to code is an important thing for the economies of every household. It's not just for the economies of construction. It's after construction as well, and on into the future. So, you know, I don't have a problem if this council's will to review things ad nauseum, but I don't think that we should be taking our time. This is not something we can hold off for too awful long. I know I don't want my homeowner's insurance to go up, but I bet it will if we don't do something. And that's my comment for the moment.
Okay. Councilor Abrams, Mayor, can I ask Councilor Abrams to
Go
repeat
ahead.
that code that you said the CID is using? What version?
Just go to the New Mexico Fire Marshal's site and look up current International Fire Code.
Okay, but didn't you say something about 2003?
That is the current version that the State Fire Marshal has posted on their website.
Okay, this is 2015.
Right, and there's going to be a 2020 and probably a 2021 in the not too far distant future. Like I said before, all of this code is reviewed in a constant fashion internationally, and is reviewed and updated, and they annotate it and change it every single year, every single month. I know the International Electric Code is updated on almost a daily basis, depending upon what areas you're looking at. So the same is true with fire code. And,
well,
you know,
I'm uncomfortable.
I mean, we're sending development review to Santa Fe County. This is what Santa Fe County is using right now.
Even though we haven't adopted it?
Correct.
Mr. Torres, you've got a comment?
To us.
Yes, Mr. Mayor, Council. So just a little bit of background on this. So this was actually brought to us through Santa Fe County. The fire chief came to us and pointed out the discrepancy. I mean, they are, for all intents and purposes, our fire department. They do our fire inspections, and as Ms. Mortensen stated, I mean, they're doing the inspections based upon what their standards are, because that's how the departments run. But they are our fire department, and they want us to be in line with what they did. They originally brought this to us, and it's been going back and forth between our attorney and their attorney, and we couldn't come to an agreement on adopting their other ordinance because of their land use issues. But both attorneys did agree that as long as we have the fire code portion adopted, then at least we can, we'll be in compliance, and our fire department can continue to operate, so we're not having this contradictory issue. Because I guess one of the legal issues that comes into play is we as the town have adopted a very outdated one, and then we have a new one that our fire department's doing. So if something were to happen, who's liable for it? Is it Santa Fe County or is it us? Because we pay them to be our fire protection service. It just makes sense that we're all on the same page. They're the ones who actually, they come out, they do the inspections, whenever there's a development that comes in, they'll meet with the applicant, with Tanya, with the TAC committee, whoever might need to be involved, and they'll say, here's the issues, here's what we need to have done. And I mean, that's just how they've been operating since I've been here, since Tanya's been here. And they're still applying this code, but there's a liability issue then when we have two separate conflicting codes.
Right.
And that was one of the issues that the chief brought up with us is they're still going to do their job, but it's kind of hard when we have an old one on the books and they're operating out of the new one. So I think that hopefully that might clear up a little bit of the confusion.
It does. As I said before, it's basically a housekeeping thing where we want to be in line with our fire department providers. And having the old 1999 one around is simply leads to confusion and maybe misunderstanding. I don't think there's a need to do a analysis of it. That's paralysis by analysis. I think you just put it in place and we'll find out if it gets to be a problem, then we can deal with it. The deal of it is as Councilor Abrams said, we've basically been using it already, but they would like it taken, the old one taken off the books so it's out of the way and everything lines up across. So I think that's what we ought to be looking at doing.
Mayor, I do have comments.
Go ahead, Councilor Harmio.
So I'm curious about the practical implications that this has. I was wondering if Tanya could give me some examples of what this might change for our residents or potential residents.
Councilor Hadamio, I don't believe it would change anything since they've already been utilizing the code as it is.
And so I'm hearing people talk about the cost and how it would, prevent people from coming here, bringing their businesses or their residences here, or, fire flow and things like that. I'm worried that there's some unintended consequence that maybe I'm not hearing.
I don't believe that there is. They've been using it for as long as I've been here. We haven't stopped any development coming in yet. I mean, I think everybody knows that if they've got a building a certain size, it's commercial, and they have something in there that's a higher fire rating, they know that they have to put sprinklers in, but we haven't had that. Just like Walmart coming in. I mean, they've got to sprinkler that. It's not anything that's unfair or unintended. It's just good practice. But like everybody's been saying, it's already been used these last few years. We're just going to be in compliance now by adopting it.
And I do think that is very important. And it sounds to me like, well, when did the county come to the town with this situation?
2018, I believe. And here was what's the problems. We were trying to work something out where we just adopted just their ordinance. But when we started looking at it, it was not going to match what we wanted. So everybody, the back and forth between government entities can get pretty muddy. And that just took a while to sort out. And finally, we just decided, let's just do our own that's short and sweet, that adopts it, and then now we're done. And we should have done that right away, but, trying to work with them on something similar to what they had for their ordinance just was not going to work.
Okay, and then so our attorneys did look at this quite a bit?
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
Okay. All right, so I guess I would just ask that we give the public one more meeting to comment and give me the opportunity to find out, was it Robles that looked at it?
Yes.
What do you need to find out?
I just would like to hear from them what I didn't even know the attorneys were working on this, but I would just like to hear, kind of what they were looking at, what they were changing, because it sounds like there was some judgment in there, It doesn't sound to me like this was just prescribed language.
Well,
What they were judging was the county's ordinance and how it wasn't gonna mesh with our land use. That's where the muddy water was. Their land use is a lot more stringent and doesn't make sense in all due respect compared to ours. And that's what we were trying to make work, and we were trying to basically cherry out of theirs what would work with ours, and it was just taking too long. So we decided rather than do that, which never made sense, and we shouldn't have done it, we just did what we did tonight.
Adopt the more recent international fire code.
Yeah, with nothing, no other language about the county and their land use
Right.
and stuff like that, because it wasn't gonna work. And we didn't wanna hang our hat on anything where we would have to use anything
Right.
to do with county.
That's good. And so the 600-page document is just, it's not optional? It's not like we can't change anything? The attorneys didn't change anything in that part of it at all?
No.
It's a prescribed document, Counselor. That is sort of like the traffic code. It's prescribed. That is what is in constant review. The International Electric Code is very similar. It's a prescribed code.
So did the attorneys draft anything at all in the end?
No,
They didn't?
no,
And this is what we're already following?
Mm-hmm.
yes.
And you don't think there's any financial impact to residents or businesses, right?
I do not, there hasn't been in the last 4 years.
Okay. Yeah, I'll yield the floor, Mayor, to the public if they have anything else.
Does the public have any more comments?
Yeah, I've got something to
Who
say.
do we got there?
Yeah, this is Ray Sagers.
Go ahead.
A couple of things came up in discussion. The reference to lowering your insurance, that's a bit. You would have to take us to a totally urban environment with fire closure, 5 lots to the acre to change our insurance rating. We've been through this. I've called the insurance people. We have no way we will ever get out of the insurance bracket we're in if we have a volunteer fire department. And that's a fact. You can check that. So it's not going to fit it ever in Edgewood. So, got to be careful. Because if we adopt something with no knowledge of its unintended consequences, which we've done a bunch before, then I think we're making a huge mistake. And the people of Edgewood don't want to see this look like Rio Rancho.
Is there anybody else who wished to comment?
Yes.
Yes.
Can you tell me your name?
This is Tom McGill. I would like to, what you're dealing with now is a bureaucratic problem, looking for a bureaucratic solution, and I know where it has to wind up eventually. But you have due diligence, and she's been, can you hear me?
Go ahead.
There will be an impact. Those hydrants are not magic water machines. They actually have to be provided, and I've been through this process. I've installed hydrants in development, and I worked it through the water company, the size of the pipes, the location and volume of the tanks, et cetera, et cetera. If I were sitting here with 10 acres that I wanted to develop, I would have to meet the existing water flow. If it's new, then I have to meet new water flow. It's not that I hate to do that. It's just that there's going to be a cost involved. And if the town wants to own the water company and they don't want to look at what the impact would be, I think that's extremely irresponsible. So there will be an impact in spite of what Ms. Tanya says. Thank you.
Does anybody else wish to speak?
I'm doing it here, Ted.
Yes, Mayor. Linda Burke would like to speak.
Linda Burke. Go ahead.
My real comment here is just that if Torrance County has adopted the state fire regulations, which are more lenient than the international code, those businesses that might be looking for a more lenient fire code are not even coming to Edgewood in the first place. So just saying that we've not had any problems as a result of it, we don't know what hasn't come here as far as business development. I do understand what you're saying, that Santa Fe County is our provider for fire services, and therefore we're going to be operating under their standards regardless. But I just wanted to point out that businesses may not be coming here that are looking for large buildings, large spaces, because of the difference between those two different fire codes, only 10 miles apart from each other.
Understood.
My only point.
Mr. Mayor, I have a question. I went to...
Hold on a second, Counselor. Hold on a second. Is there any other public comment?
No.
Okay, so we're going to close the public portion of the hearing. Counselor, go ahead.
Hang on here. One second.
I'm muted.
Okay, I think we're good.
Counselor, go ahead.
Okay, so when I went to the construction industries department and pulled what's necessary for a residential permit, it doesn't have anything at all about an international fire code. It has the 2009 New Mexico Commercial and Residential Building Code, the 2009 International Building Code, the 2009 International Residential Code, the 1997 Solar Energy Code, the 2006 New Mexico Energy Conservation Code, the 2009 New Mexico Plumbing and Mechanical Code, the 2009 Uniform Mechanical Code, the 2009 Uniform Plumbing Code, the 1997 Uniform Swimming Pool, Spa, and Hot Tub Code, the 2008 New Mexico Electrical Code, the 2008 National Electric Code, the 2002 National Electric Safety Code, the Liquefied Petroleum Gas Standard, and then it has some NFPPAs. I don't know what those are, but those are the things that it says are the codes that they go by to permit a house.
Right, those are building codes.
So if we are more stringent than the entity that provides our permits, I think we have a problem. I know I talked to Tanya today about a shed. Somebody told me that in the state of New Mexico, you can put a shed that's 120 square feet without a permit. I said, okay. I went to another shed place who said, no, no, no. In the town of Edgewood, you have to have a permit no matter what size the shed. And so I called Tanya and asked her that, and she said, yes, it's a land use code issue. So then I talked to, it was a friend of Linda Hill. She said that her neighbor had to bought a Rubbermaid portable shed to put in his backyard, and he had to get a permit. So I'm just trying to, I understand there are codes that have to be met, and I do want Edgewood to be a safe community, but I don't want us overreaching and stopping people from using their land in the way they purchased it to use. So that's my biggest concern is, are we putting restrictions on our citizens that don't need to be put there?
No, Counselor, I don't think we are. I think we're following along with what the county's already laid out for the last few years, and we haven't had any problems with it. If we've been using it all this time and nobody's known about it, then what's the problem? We'll adopt something that nobody even knew we were already using. And as far as what you listed off about CID, those are building codes This is a fire code. This is an issue with Santa Fe County that provides our fire protection.
Well, I understand that, but I do not see a fire code that has to be met as part of the building permit process.
Right. That's why the people that provide our fire protection from Santa Fe want us to adopt this one.
Mr. Mayor?
Yes, ma'am.
Something?
Go ahead, Councilor Holly.
I think we would be foolish to maintain the Uniform Fire Code from 1997 as what we adopt. That's almost 25 years old. It's like, that's just ridiculous to me. And if we're jeopardizing our joint powers agreement with the County of Santa Fe, who provides our fire services, and you guys all know what kind of fire danger we're in right now with this hot weather and the dry conditions, I think we're just being very, very, very short-sighted. I think we need to go ahead and adopt the updated fire code.
Okay.
That's my opinion.
Mayor,
Go ahead, Councilor Jaramillo.
I do have a question about that because I did hear Councilor Holly say that earlier, and that is, you know, a concern. So maybe Tanya, can you tell me, you know, is there any risk of them not responding to a fire or something that would endanger the public right now? Would the county really seriously do that?
Well, I can't really speak for the county as far as what they would do or what they wouldn't do. I mean, I wouldn't think that they'd say, oh, I'm sorry, our JPA is in violation, I'm going to let them burn down. I doubt that, no. But we have to honor the JPA. I mean, that's just good government entity relationships. And I think it's important that we just, I mean, I don't know why anybody would want to keep the 1997 on the books when they're not even using that. It's silly. As far as, I just want to go back to Councilor Abraham about the problem with the sheds. You don't have to permit through CID if it is under, if it's 120 square feet or under. That's CID. But land use, yes, you absolutely have to permit with us. We do a review for your land to make sure that you meet the setbacks and you're not on the lot line of your neighbors and you're not setting something on your septic tank and your leach line. I mean, we have a responsibility. I mean, you may think that we're putting, you know, something hard on the people with that. I mean, we serve a purpose, and it's called good development, and it's called just being responsible. And I can tell you that there isn't anybody that has really had a hard time with us. We work with everybody that comes in. I've said this every time I bring something to you guys. We work with everybody. There's this spin out there that we don't, but this is important, and we need to just adopt it so we're in compliance, and we're in compliance with our JPA. It's pretty simple. This has been really hard, and it shouldn't have been.
Councilors, it's beginning to go.
Like I said, that I definitely agree with being in compliance. I do hear some concerns out there and some questions that I think it merits a second public hearing. So that would be my motion, Mr. Mayor, is to bring this back for a second public hearing. And most likely at that time, I would be in favor of passing it. I don't think it needs a lot of over-analysis, but we don't want to jump into things either. I mean, so Tanya, I know this has been on your plate since 2018, but you also have to look at it from the perspective of the counselors and the public as well, that, you know, this is here now, and we don't want to rush things, and we want to, you know, just make sure that there aren't any other issues that need to be addressed or unintended consequences. I mean, we think it might not be, but maybe there is something. So my motion is to bring this to the next meeting on a second public hearing.
Is there a second?
I would second that. And can we have maybe someone from Santa Fe County at that meeting?
Absolutely.
Thank you.
I don't think we need to take it to a second meeting. I think the public did weigh in on it. A lot of the comments I heard were familiar. I believe it's basically just what it is. They're asking us to formally adopt something they've been using already for years. I don't think it requires a whole lot more discussion. And like I said, the best way to find out is just put it on out there. 600 pages is a lot of stuff to go through and chew on. And I think we're fine just going ahead tonight and passing it. That's my thoughts.
Yep. We have a motion and a second to table it.
All right, I'll take a vote.
Well, just, Counselor Abraham, with all due respect, once we have the motion and the second, we can have discussion. So I think, the mayor's perfectly fine. My comment, is that I thought Linda Burke had a really good, some really good thoughts. And somebody else mentioned comparing versions or something just to see if there were any differences. And then once I heard, the attorneys had been involved in this to some extent, and I thought, well, maybe we just need to, just give it a little bit of time. So that's my discussion.
We'll do a roll call vote. Start there. Counselor Abraham?
Aye.
Counselor Holly?
Nay.
Counselor Abrams?
I don't see really the merit in discussing something that we can't change. Nay.
Counselor Jaramillo?
Aye.
Motion dies for lack of a majority. I will then entertain a new motion to approve it of ordinance 2020-02, adopting by reference the 2015 International Fire Code and repealing replacing ordinance 1999T.
Mr. Mayor, I so move that we pass ordinance 2020-02 and hereby repeal ordinance 1999T.
We got a second?
I'll second. I will say our staff has done due diligence and they've had legal look at it, and I would like to second the motion.
Okay. We'll call for a vote. Counselor Abrams?
Aye.
Counselor Jaramillo?
Nay.
Counselor Abraham?
Aye.
Counselor Holly?
Aye.
We have a tie vote. Mayor votes aye. It's passed. Next item on the agenda then is Carla, I believe you're going to talk to this one. The discussion, consideration, action on a request for lodgers tax funding for an Edgewood Eat Shop Play advertising campaign. Counselors, you ought to have this in your packet there. Carla, you want to discuss this? Carla! 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 This damn stuff is commencing to get weird. Carla! Can you call her? I figured she'd be ready to go with it by now.
There she is.
Carla!
Is it my turn?
Yes, we're talking about your lodger's tax request. You want to bring us up to date on it?
Let me just start by saying one thing. I think the Lodgers Tax Board is the one board or commission the town of Edgewood has that truly understands how hard local business has been hit by COVID. We have 5 business people that sit on that board. It's 3 business owners and 2 managers. And they certainly know how hard they have been hit. And what I'm trying to do here, what the Lodgers Tax Board is trying to do here, is do anything we can to help local business. And what we can do with Lodgers Tax is advertise, come eat, come shop, and come stay in Edgewood. Even through the public health order, we can follow all the COVID-safe practices, but we still need to encourage people to come here. Helping their bottom line helps our bottom line. The money is available in the Lodgers Tax Fund. We'd like to spend it to do an advertising campaign to encourage people driving the I-40 corridor to stop in Edgewood, and I hope you'll all be supportive of that. That is very simply everything we're trying to do. Linda Burke, I talked to her. She has some Lodgers Tax funding that they were awarded earlier that they were unable to spend. She will support this funding with her funding. I think we have a good idea. I think we need to do whatever we can do to help our local businesses, and I hope you'll be supportive of that.
Councilors have any questions for Carla?
That was an echo.
Is Linda Burke still on the line?
No. Do you all have any questions for Carla?
I do. What is the funding source that's being requested?
Lodgers Tax funding?
Yeah, I was just not sure what this flyer is asking. Are they asking?
It's asking for $25,000. Oh, I'm sorry, I spoke over you.
That's okay. I just wasn't sure who is asking for the 25,000 and
The
where
town
is it
is.
going and from where is it coming?
The town is.
It's the town of Edgewood and the Lodgers Tax Board that's asking for the $25,000. We will spend it mostly on billboards, some on new light pole banners, and some on print advertising. And Lodgers Tax funding can only be spent to attract tourism. So we're going to be using it to kind of bring traffic in off of I-40. So it's us, it's the town of Edgewood that's asking for the funds. We're asking for Lodgers Tax funding. There's about $45,000 in the Lodgers Tax Fund right now. Juan, correct me if I'm wrong. And we're asking to spend $25,000 of it.
Okay, thank you. And then I did hear you say that Linda Burke was not able to spend some money. Is that what happened there?
The first Lodgers Tax Award, if you'll remember, went out pre-COVID-19. It was mostly event-driven funding. None of the events could happen. She was awarded some funding to create a brochure that had a schedule of events. Once again, the events couldn't happen. So that award probably will not be spent the way it was intended to be spent. But I mean, she can still do it to put together a brochure. It would just be to draw people into Edgewood.
So she can still use it?
She can, yeah.
Okay.
Mr. Mayor?
Yes, sir.
Carla, I know you've been made aware of my idea for helping out our restaurants.
I was. I actually looked at the City of Albuquerque economic development site about providing tents to outdoor restaurants. Is that what you're speaking about?
Yeah, what the City of Albuquerque has done is they have provided funding on a grant basis to businesses who apply for it, and one of Albuquerque's outdoor patio dining permits. We don't have a patio dining permit, so that wouldn't be necessary. And after thinking about the idea of their program and how we might do something, I've modified my idea a little bit. And I know that this isn't on the agenda, and I would hope that I would be indulged in just a little bit of discussion. Because I think our restaurant businesses do need a good bit of help, especially with the ping pong ball of, yes, you can have dining inside, no, you can't, yes, you can, no, you can't. we can't do this for very long, and we're not going to have any restaurants. And your advertising campaign, very laudable. I hope we can pull people in from I-20 or I-40. I hope we can pull people from I-25 too. But if we don't have restaurants, I'm sorry, we're not going to pull anybody in. So my idea is that the town purchases a number of tents of adequate size and then provides them to our community restaurants at a very, very, very nominal rental fee. I don't know what that rental fee is, but we have to charge for the service. So $1 a month for COVID.
Can I make a suggestion? Since we're talking about an Eat, Shop, Stay campaign, how about we wrap those tents into this campaign and maybe brand them in the same way and make them available to restaurants?
If we can get it done that way with our lodgers tax funds, and you feel that we can get this done with the $25,000 you've already requested, yay, rah. I would like to see every single restaurant in this town have outside dining available so they can do their business.
I actually don't think we can wrap it up. What I was going to ask is that perhaps you indulge my request for funding with perhaps an additional, at least to test this out, an additional $2,500 to $3,000 so we can purchase those tents and do this campaign.
I have no problem with that.
I have just one quick question, just one quick interruption. Linda Burke is on the line and would like to speak to this if someone can unmute her.
Thank you, counselors. I appreciate it. I did have the opportunity to speak with Carla on this, and I have attended lodgers tax meetings in the past where this subject was discussed about billboards, etc. And we're absolutely for doing more outreach at a farther distance to draw people off the freeway. I'm not sure what print type of advertising Carla has in mind. I will just caution that it's not usually very cost effective to do print, but there are other methods that could be used. The Chamber has a program called Shop, Play, Stay that's very similar to what Carla has in mind. So what I had suggested that we do with some of the lodgers tax dollars that the Chamber had been granted was that we could try and work alongside with what the town is doing so that we're sending a consistent message out there, even though the verbiage of Carla's is slightly different, but the Eat, Shop, Play, they're close enough. And we have a lot of information on our website that helps travelers, because that is how they are looking for information, is online, that helps them to know what is available if they get off in Edgewood and what's here, as well as being able to search our business directory to find out what businesses are here. And the Discover Edgewood brochure that we had done last year, while we're not doing a printed version of it this year, that's not intended, we do have a new map that's getting ready to go live pretty soon. That's an interactive map. So if someone is looking for an item, to say a restaurant, all of the restaurants will pop up that are available in Edgewood, and that includes businesses that are not members of the Chamber. So we've tried to be as inclusive as we possibly can of what's here. Of course, it changes on a regular basis, but I just wanted to be clear that we do have a lot going on. The other way that I think the town can support local businesses is to support the Chamber, because that's my job. That's what I'm doing all the time, is working to support our local businesses and be the constant voice for them as far as social media goes, print media, radio media. We do television segments and things like that. So that's what we're here to do. And I'm more than willing and very happy to work with Carla so that the two pieces of this puzzle can work together and make sure that we maximize the dollars that are available and what's being done out there to attract more business to Edgewood.
Thank you, Linda.
Anything we can do. Yeah, I agree with her. Anything we can do, I think this is a good step in that direction, and I think it's one we need to take.
Oh, and one more thing, if I could add. I did have the opportunity to speak with Councilor Abrams earlier this week regarding the idea for the tent. While I do know that several of our businesses have expended their own funds to try and do this, they've really stretched to be able to try and make outdoor patio dining possible. I think it's a great idea for the community to have some kind of tents or covers that would be available not only for this period of time, but in the future. So as far as branding them, I would brand them maybe with a town logo, but not necessarily with a shop, eat, shop, stay, because they may be used for other purposes in addition to that function. Hopefully they'll last for a while. We'll get a lot of different uses out of them. Community events at some point will come back and we'll have those available for other things. So I do think that's a great idea. I think our businesses would greatly appreciate that support and that help. Anything that we can do for them to keep them going as they're hanging on would be great.
Thank you, Linda. Okay, I'll entertain a motion.
Mayor, I think Carla wanted to say something else.
Yeah, just wanted to make one more caution. It is lodger's tax funding. We always have to be careful that it is primarily tourism driven. But I think this is, and I think it's a good idea.
Okay, I'll entertain a motion.
Mr. Mayor, I'll make a motion. I'm not exactly sure what I need to include in it.
Councilor Abrams, really quick. I'm asking for $25,000. I would ask that if we wrap up your 10th campaign into this, you make that final ask $28,000.
Then I will take that and make a motion to request $28,000 for.
It would be to approve it.
Well, they would need to approve it, of course.
No, you do.
You guys. In other words,
I'm making a motion to approve.
yeah, you guys are making a motion to approve it if that's what you want to do.
Has lodger's tax already approved this? You've already
They've recommended it for approval and asked me to ask you to approve it.
Well, how can we approve spending lodger's tax money? We normally do an RFP, and then they choose, and then they send that to us, and then we approve that.
That is correct.
They're the body requesting it.
This is the Lodgers Tax Board requesting it, just because we think our local businesses need help. So the Lodgers Tax Board made this recommendation for this funding, and they're asking you to approve it. You guys are the only ones who can actually approve the funding, but they've made the ask. They've made the recommendation that you approve it.
I think we need a resolution to go with this or something.
No, I don't think we do.
Then it goes back for their approval, then it comes back to us, and then we
No,
move
but if we just create a resolution that says we, as the council, want to accept the recommendation from the lodger's tax to give this money, like Carla said.
You don't need a resolution, Counselor. You can get by with a straight vote tonight to approve. They've talked it over, and instead of 25, they'd like 28. It's that simple.
It's very similar to the way it's been done in the past, except we didn't issue an RFP. This is a recommendation of the Lodgers Tax Board.
Right.
We allow to.
The board has recommended we do this.
Right.
Yeah.
Mayor, I did have a question.
Councilor
Just
Jaramillo.
logistically, the funds, well, first of all, I'm worried about staff because I know Carla has so much to do already, and, you know, it's COVID and there's limitations and all of these different things. I don't want to be overwhelming the staff. So, but with that being said, doesn't some of this money then can go to, the chamber through the town? Like if we got quotes, right?
Well, no,
So,
I guess we could issue an RFP again, but there's no need to go that route, and it would slow the process down. The chamber has already been awarded some lodgers tax funding that they can use, as Linda Burke said, to kind of work hand in hand with us on this project.
Right.
So they already have some lodgers tax funding. If we go the route of issuing an RFP and asking for agencies to put together the campaign,
Right.
then we just extend this timeline out a month or two.
The
And
idea
frankly, I don't
is-
think we can afford to wait that long.
The idea is, your lodger tax board has come up with this idea and said they recommend that the town give itself $28,000, since you've added something for tents, to get out there
To buy
and
some
put for these
billboards.
businesses to try to get more business to come to them. That's what it
so
is.
my concern was just that we have the capacity with our own staffing to do that or not, or if we needed to reach out for help, that's all. That logistically, is it gonna be the town staff doing all of this, or is it gonna be, not farms, but, getting quotes which doesn't take long. And,
No, it is. It's gonna be the town staff, it's gonna be me. I've gotten some quotes for billboard companies that say, billboards are only open as long as they're open. Some of the quotes I've gotten, those billboards may have already been sold, but as soon as you guys approve this, I'll get some quotes for billboards. They typically do the artwork, so we'll get that done and we'll get them up as soon as possible. Same thing with Councilor Abrams' tents. If you approve these fundings, we'll get them bought as soon as we can.
Sounds like a plan. Let's get that motion done.
I make motion to approve a funding request for lodgers tax funds of $28,000 for this campaign and some tents.
Got a motion? Do we got a second?
I'll second.
Okay, got a motion and a second to,
Did you say to be administered by the town of Edgewood?
Sure.
okay.
Sure.
We've got a motion and a second to approve a request for the lodgers tax funding for Edgewood's Eat Shop Play advertising campaign, which will be administered by the town of Edgewood. We'll do a roll call vote. Councilor Abraham.
Aye.
Councilor Jaramillo.
Aye.
Councilor Holly.
Aye.
And Councilor Abrams.
Thank you. Aye.
Okay, next item is discussion, consideration, action on personnel policy. So, as you know, we've run into some issues with personnel policy. Been trying to hire people we need working. And run into the problem of procedures over here on page 3. The language that was in here came over from the original 2003 ordinance. It was brought on across. Yes, we didn't catch it, but this is a change to it that should accommodate what we actually do. Basically, just like here with the hire of our last chief here, was for me the same as hiring Chief Crow. There was no difference. But I understand that now it's an issue, so here's the language. We've had this sent to the attorneys. They looked it over, suggested these changes to it. They've redlined through the stuff that was in there and come up with stuff that basically mirrors what we've been doing anyway. So there's that under procedures 1 and 2. And over here at application, there's a couple changes there. You go over to page 4, that carries over on application. Comes down through there, tells how you sort of go through the thing of interviewing them. And then that we're equal opportunity employer, don't discriminate, does not grant special favors. And the interview committees, blah, blah, comes down to compensation. And I believe you had one other.
Yes, Mayor, Council, so on the exemptions, to exempt the appointed positions, because quite frankly, half the stuff in here, it doesn't apply to us. I can't grieve any action taken against me. It's spelled out in my personnel contract. Same thing
What
with...
page is that on?
On page 2, applicability. So, myself, Chief Crow, Chief Sanchez, we can't grieve, we can't do a lot of the stuff that's in this policy. It doesn't apply towards us. We're called out specifically in our employment agreements that we have with the town. I mean, we're subject to, the rule and the will of the governing body. We don't have, like I said, we don't have the grievance ability. And we don't have, I guess there are some parts that apply, like the leave and stuff like that, but that's also called out in the our personnel contract. Will accrue leave at the same rate as the policy, not to exceed 200 hours. It calls all that out in our employment agreements. Like I said, to exempt us from it would, fall in line once again with how the practice is.
So that would be, you would make a number 6 exempt employees.
Appointed.
Or appointed, yeah. Okay, discussion.
So any changes that haven't been addressed in red, are we going to now start to do them? The rest of the policy, are we going to, like now it says on page 7, job description, the establishment, first of all, it says that the clerk treasurer shall maintain and publish a complete set of descriptions for all job classes, and such descriptions shall include titles, typical duties, and/or task statements, minimum qualifications. Are these going to be posted online or where? And that they need to be updated every 4 years? And there's some things on page 7 that I have. Are we going to do those? It talks about a salary schedule.
How about we do this, Counselor? How about we do this? How about we approve these ones tonight, and you bring us in these other things you've got issues with, and maybe we'll take another stab at that at another meeting.
I've been trying for 5 months to get these addressed. There are many issues in here, not just the ones that you guys want to get rid of. There's many places in here where it talks about an HR department. We don't have an HR department. If I thought we would address this again next week, I would. But it's taken me 5 months.
And what have you brought forward? What have you brought forward for us?
I haven't been able to get it on an agenda. Every time I ask, everybody says, oh, it's fine, we don't need to do anything. So it's taken me 5 months to even get it on an agenda to talk about it. I will most definitely send the concerns I have if we can look at it again next time.
We can probably do that. So about the changes that are in here, any questions on them? I think that cleaned up quite a bit of stuff you had problems with.
It cleaned up quite a bit of it, but not all of it.
That's all right.
It's a start. Thank you.
All right, if there's no more comments, I'll entertain a motion on this one.
Mr. Mayor, let's make some sausage. I move to accept the changes to the policy and revise the adopted date to 07/22/20 for the Town of Edgewood Personnel Policy Manual.
Got a second?
I'll second.
All right, we've got a motion and a second to approve the changes that have been listed in this one here, dated 07/22/20, Town of Edgewood Personnel Policy Manual. Do a roll call vote. Start here, Counselor Abrams.
Aye.
We're not
Counselor.
going to have discussion.
Well, you can discuss it if you want.
I would like to make sure that we plan to put this, that I have your assurance this will be on the.
If I have your assurances that I'm going to get something from you with the suggested changes. I'll put it on there, but are you going to send me some changes?
I absolutely will.
All right. Counselor Abraham, how do you vote?
Aye.
Counselor Holly?
Aye.
And Counselor Jaramillo? Did you vote?
Yes, I did.
Okay.
I voted nay.
Okay. Thank you, counsel.
Looking forward to seeing your edits, Counselor Abraham.
I will send them to you tomorrow. I've made them, I've had them ready since February the 26th.
Next item is discussion, consideration, action on the financial report for the month of June 2020. Mr. Torres.
All right, Mayor and Council, so to the first page with the GRT distributions. So if you notice again, we're up again. And you know, I'm not quite sure how to take it. You know, we've been told by Municipal League, DFA, everyone, you know, plan for the worst, plan for losing funding, and this is now, you know, the third month in a row since COVID came out where we're up. I mean, the only thing I can really attribute it to is, you know, I mean, this is past the toilet paper rush and all that other stuff. I mean, this is now maybe just people, since they are home, they're shopping here instead of driving into Albuquerque. I don't know how long this trend is going to continue. Probably as long as the health order is in place. You know, we do have a lot more people that are, you know, working from home. I know all the state offices, or the most part, the majority of them are still working from home, and maybe these people are just stopping and shopping here locally instead of on their way home from work in Santa Fe or Albuquerque. So once again, I don't know how long the trend is going to continue, but you know, that's 3 months of, you know, revenue being up. So it makes it really hard to, you know, even anticipate what it's going to be like, you know, moving forward. And then I did add another column for this fiscal year, or not another column, but I added to that, so food, medical, and internet distributions. So that was that additional funding from the state. I'm just lumping that in with that portion. If you would like it in its own column, but that's a fixed amount. It's not going to change it, you know, month to month. But yeah, it's, I mean, I really don't know how to explain why the revenue's up, other than I think people are just, you know, they're home and they're shopping locally. I really don't know how else to explain it. I mean, this was the month of May now, so, you know, all the mad rushes on toilet paper and, you know, dried food and stuff was completely over with, so this is just, I think, normal shopping. You know, Carla, I think, she wanted to chime in on some of the expenditures on that list.
Yes, I'm here. I know, like, once again, I've missed the last few meetings, and I know there was a question at the last meeting about the bill to simplified graphics, or the payment simplified graphics for, I think it was $190. She's the graphic artist who did the initial draft rendering for the Eat Shop Day campaign, and that's just because I wanted to show you guys what we were working on. That won't be the final, but I'll show you the final once it's done. And then as far as this month's billing goes, I kind of wanted to go over the ones I think you'll have questions about. So if you don't mind, I'll kind of pick and choose the ones that at least I know something about. And on the first one, Aqua Environmental Services, is the payment for a contract operator for 3 months worth of services. On the second page, we have the payment to DPC Industries. I think that's pretty self-explanatory. It's the sodium hypochlorite. On page 3, we have water hydrant usage, and that, of course, will go down once we start using our own reused water. Again, that's payable to EPCOR Water. On page 4, we have the payments to Horrocks Engineers. The first one was for the completion of the design on Church Road. Oh, and while I'm talking about roads, I'm sorry, a quick aside about capital outlay. When the legislature went back into special session, they swept all the general funds that they had awarded. That included the funds for Church Road. What they have done is taken those general fund awards and sold severance tax bonds to re-award them. We anticipate getting that money back, and we've been told we will as an STB fund instead of a general fund. Hopefully that will be finalized by the budget meeting we have, and I'll have more information for you. But that's what happened. So back to Hora. The first one was for the completion of the design on Church Street. The second one was for the final payment on Horton. And the third one doesn't say what it is, but it's for the steeplechase design. And that was an award, a 2-year spending bill award for $50,000 that we got last year. And that's what it was spent on, the design of steeplechase.
Can we back up to the GM emulsion, that $105,000? What?
Yeah,
It says sales, but for what? What road?
I'm sorry.
Edgewood 7.
It's for Edgewood 7, and it was a local government road fund award for which we will be receiving reimbursement. So that was Edgewood 7. So next one under Horrocks is, you'll notice there were a couple of payments to Juan for program funds, and that was because we were closing out on the year end and we couldn't use the credit card. And the delivery was faster, so Juan ordered those program supplies, and that was a repayment. The next one down is Kubota, and that's for a manifold that the membranes connect to. And then we can skip a few pages, I think, and go, because I don't have anything there, and go to Sunshine Plumbing. That was for the connection of the police department and the community center to the sewer system, and that will be reimbursable as well. The one under that is for Swank Motion Pictures, and that was the licensing for the motion pictures that the chamber showed in their drive-in theaters this summer. And give them another, maybe those are all of mine. I think those are all of mine. Juan?
Right, Mayor,
Do you
Council.
see anything else?
I do have a couple others that are just on there just for your information. So like these cell tower escrow services, that's just closing out a lot of those old cell tower escrows that were just out there. Contacted like T-Mobile, Verizon to see what were they done with it, because per the ordinance, I mean, those are reimbursables, and they were, so we did reimburse those to them. And then there's a couple for the library, like Overdrive Inc., and that's ebooks and audiobooks. And part of what Andrew's been doing with the library is, trying to really push this online stuff, so people, if they can't make it to the, pickup and stuff, they can still listen to the books online. We joined a consortium group, so we now have access to every book that group has purchased, and they have access to every audio book and stuff that we've purchased, or ebook. So I think that was Biblionics is that one. And I think while the pandemic continues, Andrea, with respect to the library, is going to shift everything more towards that direction of adding more to the ebook collection and audiobook collection, so people can download it or stream it online, and then they'll have that option available to them as well. And I think that's it. That's all I have on that one. Mayor, Council? Yes.
Any other questions for staff?
Can you explain the attorney fees of another $20,000?
Just more due diligence.
What are they doing?
Just due diligence.
As in what?
Not gonna tell you. So I'll entertain a motion on this one.
Mr. Mayor, I make a motion, we pay the bills.
You got a second?
I've got a second and a question.
Okay.
I would like to know, we're looking at Robos Royale, there's a fee for close to $800 for legislative. What was that for? I'm not aware of.
Mayor and council, that's for one of you members of the council contacting and Robos Rail and I.
We can do that individually? I've not done that since I've been on council.
We can.
Instead of going to the municipal league where it doesn't cost anything?
Not if they don't give us, not if they can't advise us about personnel or town business. I mean, they can only advise us on, policy. They can't, this is our attorneys. I've talked to them the whole entire time I've been a counselor if I had questions.
Well, I'm curious then why, if you're seeking legal counsel, why it's not brought back to the whole body so we know what was discussed.
Because we can't seem to get the legal people on the agenda to come and talk to us.
But couldn't you, like in your counselor comments, say, hey, I visited with the attorneys and...
I could, but like the mayor, I'm not going to stay.
Wow, okay, thank you.
We've got a motion and a second. We'll start over here, Councilor Abrams.
Aye.
Councilor Jaramillo.
Aye.
Councilor Holly.
Sorry, aye.
And Councilor Abraham.
Aye.
Thank you, Council. Calendar review. So we got the community cleanup. That's what they've been talking about all night. Coming up over here at the soccer field. They'll have dumpsters out there on the 25th. And basically, like this says, they're going to try this again in August and then again in September. It's only open to town of Edgewood residents. And they do got some no's here: motors, oil, tires, fluorescent lights, refrigerators, electronics, you know what to not bring. Special council meeting. Juan would like us to meet next Wednesday, 29th, 10 a.m. to discuss budget. The next regular council meeting then would be August 12th. That'll be the second Wednesday of August. And the special election is ongoing until August 24th. Mail-in ballots will be mailed out to registered voters July 28th through July 30th.
Real quick, Mayor, last day to register, 27th.
Last day to register then on that would be Monday the 27th. Next item is a motion to adjourn. I'll accept one.
Mayor, I just have a question here. You said the 29th, right, for the budget
Right.
workshop? Right?
Yes.
Okay. Yeah, I think that I can move something around and make that work, and I did want to thank you guys for doing that, because again, like I asked before, for the budget discussion, I think it is important for the public, and thank you for doing that. And then also, I just wanted to ask, I feel, in a double bind here. I'm not sure if you guys know what a double bind is, but you're telling me not to speak about chief and counselor comments, but you won't let me put it on the agenda, and then even when I have 3 people on, you don't put it on the agenda. So you're putting me in an impossible situation here to represent the public. So how would you like to address that?
What item are you talking about that you've got 3 counselors on board with?
That was youth programming.
And Carla just gave you a rundown of all that.
Well, if you want to get technical about it, Mayor and Linda Holly, you know, if that wasn't on the agenda, that's a disservice to the public. How can I possibly be ready and the public have something to say about that? That's what Councilor Holly's complaint was.
Well, Carla got the report around and she just gave it to you.
Right, but what we had on the agenda was supposed to be for discussion and action. So, you know,
To
that
do
didn't
what?
make it on the agenda. I
Well-
didn't even know that that was going to be discussed.
Well, but what action were you going to take? She told you the money got spent out. So, I mean,
Mayor,
the
that
thing
money
was to come up with a
already sent out
report.
for wireless, prior to COVID. So I'm just saying, it should be the opportunity that we agreed on last time, that we could bring forward ideas and talk about them, whether it's that budget or the next budget or whatever. Maybe it's something we talk about at the budget workshop.
Sounds like a plan.
I never got an accounting of how the 50 grand was spent, and I've been asking since April.
I thought that's what she just gave you.
You're not hearing me, but.
Yeah, I am. I heard you. Do we got a second on that motion to adjourn?
That money was already spent. So I'm asking you what to do about the double bind.
There's nothing to do about the double bind. Like I said, she gave you the report you asked for. What else is there to do? There isn't any money waiting there. We're going to have to talk about that at the budget. Why not talk then? Do we got a second on that motion to adjourn?
Second.
Motion's been made and second to adjourn. Counselor Abraham? How do you vote?
I think that I am more than happy to adjourn this meeting. And I vote aye.
Counselor Abrams?
Aye.
Counselor Jaramillo?
Aye.
Counselor Holly?
Aye.
Thank you, Counsel.